Hello, and welcome to another edition of Code Remix Weekly, where I am just now realizing I didn't turn on my light. There we go. With me, as always, is Tim. No, wait, he's not with me. I'm here alone and sad, but we'll have to make do all the same. I'm sure Tim is off at some cool conference or something right now. Yeah. Moment of silence for Tim, dearly departed until he returns next week. We'll just go through some announcements briefly. We put out Open Rewrite 8.84.0 with a number of bug fixes and feature enhancements, mostly related to expanded language support for Go, Scala, JavaScript, Kotlin, and some miscellaneous other bugs. So enjoy that. Also, to check out, we have a couple of new blog posts, such as AI coding agents don't need bigger models, they need better tools. And I'll just go post a link to this. And as well as an upcoming event where teams learn to run coding agents at scale. Right now, we have people at the Gartner conference, and we have a bunch of other fun stuff coming up here to check out. So come and meet us at any of these events, and sign up for the coming Advanced Open Rewrite training on June 9th if you're interested in that. And, kind of in the same vein as this AI coding agents and the needing better tools, there is this upcoming virtual training on June 10th about why enterprise AI coding agents need more than a better model, which goes into some similar themes and maybe a bit more depth. So if you take a look at this cool blog post and want to delve into that subject in a little more detail, I encourage you to check out this training. And speaking of AI tools and how they are affecting all of our work, I was curious about how they were affecting the work of one of software engineers' favorite partners, our designers and design teams. So I'm inviting on today to join us Jade to talk about that along with Annie. So hello, Jade and Annie. Welcome to the program. How do you do today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Nice. So you guys, maybe introduce yourself. Jade, what is it would you say you do here?
Oh my gosh, that's the question you're going to start with. Well, we're designing great developer tools and software products. But I think that with AI, some of our job becomes a little bit data analyst and other things that a little bit systems creator for design systems. And I'd say since November, what Annie and I do, I think our job descriptions would be completely different if we describe what we do here in November versus what we do here today.
What are some of the top things that have changed between November and today? Like what's different now?
I'm a contributor on GitHub now. That's new and exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'd say I definitely don't spend as much time in Figma. Figma is our design tool of choice here. Time in Figma as we used to spend. I think way more time in Conductor, which is our shell that we use for Cloud Code. Both making, and then I'm on GitHub, which is wild. Never thought I'd make a PR in my career.
What have you been making PRs about?
All kinds of stuff. It kind of depends. I think we're still trying to figure out where AI fits in our workflow and how to use the tool because it's so new and it's changing every day. And we're just trying to work out like where it makes the most sense for AI to be the tool that we use in the handoff process. And sometimes it makes sense as a tool and sometimes it doesn't. So it depends on what ends up being a PR versus what ends up being a more traditional, design artifact handoff.
And a more traditional design artifact handoff would be something like a document given to programmers, a presentation, what kind of artifact is the traditional design handoff as opposed to, I suppose, a PR that you generate with Claude's assistance to directly modify the UI to have your preferred behavior and layout?
Yeah, I think originally, I mean, traditionally, we were doing like specs, and it's part of a similar evolution. You're doing like specs and flat files, but then Figma changed a lot, and we started delivering links that let people inspect the flat
and browse around and kind of click around.
Browse around and see what's going on. Yeah, those are the more traditional tools.
Yes, my co-host Nazgul has come in here to fill in for Tim.
I'm surprised one of my co-hosts isn't here. So,
well, they keep their own schedule. They don't. As much as I try to get him to look at his calendar and show up timely to appointments, he does not. So hopefully your co-host will come and join us at their leisure. As at their leisure is the only way they do anything, I know. Okay, yeah. So traditional design handoff, yeah, specs, Figma documents, yeah. I've seen these kinds of things. And when you talk about issuing PRs, my assumption, yeah, Nazgul is going to do the Tim impression. Nazgul will be doing an impression of Tim whenever he is not speaking.
there you go.
I love Nazgul as a name.
Yeah,
I have something to add about the PRs too. Like, I think for PRs, we tend to make them when we're improving or enhancing or taking a design pass at stuff. That's one like tactical time, because oftentimes stuff you probably know, this stuff just gets built because we're moving really fast and we need the structure and we need the feature. And then our founder Jonathan will sometimes make things and then be like, hey, could you guys take a look at this? And then now we would normally then try to like recreate it in a Figma file. Now we don't have to do any of that. We can just go make a branch, make a PR, do some magical things to make it look a little bit different or more in line with our design system.
Nice. Have you found these tools, and I'm totally stabbing in the dark here, have you been using these any of these AI tools? Are you able to use those to take like a prototype that an engineer has mocked up and then do that import into Figma of like, take this UI, go generate something that I could bring into my more traditional design tools and iterate on there? Or is that still kind of a gap? Because I would imagine that would be a nice little labor saving sometimes if you have a mock-up, being able to import that directly would be nice. But I'm judging by your faces, I'm thinking that maybe that isn't a thing yet.
No, I have a thing to show if you want to see it. I can't show you the whole thing. I would love to see a thing. I can't show you the whole thing, but we've been working on this idea because an example of this is we had a banner because we just released our new SaaS, and it was like, hey, here's the new thing, and hit a banner, and the banner was a little tall. And so this is an example of, we fixed it really quickly in production. We were like, hey, we want smaller banners. And then we came to this point where we had to decide, am I going to sit here and manually create something in Figma that's already designed, it's already shipped?
Or just do it.
Like, why, what is the point of doing that? So one of the problems that we're trying to solve is how do we have anything in our design kit that matches what exists in the real world? And I will show you a really quick thing, but I will also let Annie talk a little more about this if you want while I share screen. I have a different screen to share.
The existing tools to get code to Figma. So there's Code to Canvas, which is a Figma tool. There's HTML to Design, which is like a classic, right, Chrome extension to get things in. Barely bring things in with any connections to the design system, which is a problem, right? Because you're just getting a flat file.
You get the raw HTML, and what you want is your library of elements and widgets and things that you've nicely set up.
Yeah. Or in the case of HTML to Design, right, you get like 10,000 layers that you don't need, that you're just constantly breaking. So now production is the current state, right? Like we always used to. I always used to have a file, like a page in my Figma, right? That was like, this is the current state of the app that I would just take to. And
then you'd probably have to manually update it frequently as people made little changes. So you've got like this manual sync process going on. So this is kind of like disintermediating some of the tools you used to use by just making it easier to work on the thing itself.
It's reducing a lot of the toil that came from asynchronously keeping our design work up to date with what was in production. That sounds pretty nice. I like the sound of that. All right, so Jade, you've got this screen share. What are we looking at here? And can we make the font size a little bit bigger?
Yeah, actually the font, I'm not even sure I don't need to really
Or
show this on here
just
too
zoom the
much,
whole
but
page, maybe. Okay.
yeah, the idea here is that instead of a screen, instead of trying to get the whole screen, right? We're not going to be the only people that design stuff. We work at a startup where everyone's contributing to the front end, and we love that. So it becomes less about like how do we create a screen and more about how can we create components that anyone can pull from when they're making UI, and those components and colors and styles look great. And and I'm actually not sure why my screen didn't zoom. Look great and build screens that look nice. Now, if I do a plugin, let me see if the plugin shows on the screen because it might not actually work. Can you see a plugin? No.
I just see the design systems become governance systems page.
Oh wait,
So
let me try.
this is sometimes a consequence of sharing a single window rather than your whole screen. That often
hold on. I'm going to
makes it
share my
easier.
whole screen, and you guys might have a little. I'm sorry if it's messy, but I will do it and hope for the best.
It's all right.
Here.
By programmer standards, if you have so few Chrome tabs that any of the individual labels can still be read, you're neat and organized.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can see it.
Now we can see. Yeah. Okay. So this is Figma normally looks like a design system. Normally has a bunch of stuff in it already. It's already made. Our design system is called Neo. Annie and Lindsay made it before I joined, and then we've been adding to it here and there. And it's like a beautiful design system. There's a bunch of stuff here on the left. You can see all the pages that have all this stuff, like tons of stuff, right? And we get more and more out of data as we build. So we've been talking a lot about this idea of an ephemeral design system that is production first. And so right here, there's nothing in this design system. And I'm going to press initialize, and this is just a teaser. I'm going to press initialize, and now it materialized our design system in Figma on the fly. So the idea is, how can we, this isn't ready, it's an experiment. Lindsay lets us experiment, our fearless leader lets us experiment a lot with AI and things AI and plugins and things like this. But the goal is can we just crawl production and just constantly get everything that exists and then look at it and edit it and give feedback, but just have governance and sight into it rather than needing to make it so manual, because we don't want to do it manually anymore either. So
of course.
I won't take up too much time with this one, but we're going to do some deep dives on this later. I'm going to have some posts out about this later with the marketing team.
All right, that's cool. For my own enlightenment, maybe if you could share that again, just to help me a little bit better understand what I was looking at there. When you talked about importing an ephemeral design system into Figma, mostly what I saw as the result of that was a bunch of colored squares and maybe some UI elements floating around in a void. What were we looking at there?
So what you're looking at are I'm resharing again, but what you're looking at were the colors. So these are our tokens. These are visual representations of our design tokens. So a design token is what, in a perfect world, what our agents would use to make stuff. So they can be colors.
I see. So you're kind of connecting.
They can be spacing.
All right, so we're kind of connecting colors to the concepts that they signify, and then providing conventions for how things are spaced and rounded and how elements are placed with respect to each other.
Exactly.
Font choices, okay.
Font weights.
Also the components.
We have components too, because sometimes, for example,
toggles look like this and not some other way.
Toggles look like this, and it's not a lot of times we'll end up with a tailwind thing or a MUI thing that doesn't look great. So this helps us prevent drift and understand what exists today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now the kind of challenge that I'm hearing or inferring is that you have all these design documents that humans can look at, and you want to the tools you're interacting with, when you're using an LLM or something like that to make changes, to be enlightened with this context so that it is naturally using the right colors, naturally using the right components. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, exactly. We want to see what exists, and then we want to guide the tokens that get used. And then if it's good, we want to make it official and try to make it consumable by AI, and then let the system evolve as like people contribute. So it can be flexible.
That's very cool. So what goes into making these design elements addressable by AI? I mean, I've occasionally pasted an image into Claude and it has some kind of auto magical interpretation, usually doing OCR to get text out of a screenshot in my case. So I'm curious, these systems don't see the way humans do. So how do you provide these artifacts to them in a way that is at all meaningful or useful or gets you the result you want?
I'm going to share, if you go back to my other share screen, I'm going to zoom in on a very important part, because this is like I would say this is our amazing front end team that helps us with that. I don't know if Annie and I we can certainly try to build like Claude MG guidance. We can try to do that, but we could not do any of it without our UI team that does all these things to help make sure that that it's consuming our design system and our design intent as best as possible. Don't ask me how though, Sam.
Yeah, I would.
Oh, Sam, can you hear Sam?
I must have muted myself on accident. Yeah, no, showing where the boundary, where the handoff is answer in and of itself. But yeah, you were saying something, Annie?
I was just gonna say, like, the live code to me is now the easiest way for me to replicate what I need design-wise in order to move forward. Because when I've tried to use Figma MCP and try to get it to look, even just be like, look at this design, like screenshot it, right? Which is not the best way to use an LLM, but some must. It just hallucinates all over the place. It doesn't really what's going on, and even when it's pulling from Figma directly, it's not quite getting the structure and understanding that. So now having the tokens in the code makes things so much easier, because I can just be like, go over there, like, you understand strain, so I'm gonna need you to go get that strain, right? Because it just doesn't understand Figma being, a visual place. It's like it's hard for it to convert visuals into something that it comprehends, which I think we've all experienced with LLMs.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about having it say, go get the tokens, you're talking about like this design guidance, like checked into the repository with the code kind of thing, or adjacent somewhere that you can be like, reference this textual description of the design guidelines and this catalog of UI elements kind of thing.
Yeah, so we have a storybook now, so it's also easy to have it reference the storybook. And yeah, I mean, we also have a separate repo that's just for Neo Design that has all the tokens that our lovely engineers have made, so it can go straight there and have an understanding of what the elements are that it can pull from.
All right, that's cool. Yeah. So are you finding... I'm curious how this feels to you to have your workflows and the things you're interacting with having kind of changed in this way. I imagine it's a mixed bag. There's some good, some bad, some confusing. Like, are you having fun? Are you having fun using these tools? Are these good? Is this distracting? Is this useful? Like, I guess vibe check is what I'm asking.
Vibe check. It's definitely different. It's a different work experience from going into Figma and working on something in isolation, right? Like, going off and designing in isolation, doing your thing. Working with all this is definitely. Jade and I come from a Pivotal Labs pairing shop. Everyone pair programmed, even the designers and PMs. So we're pairing with human beings, but it's kind of like pairing with a I called it my dumb intern when I first started.
Yeah.
Using having to pair with someone who maybe doesn't understand the essentials, the basics, and having to teach
Yeah, it's like I find it like pairing with someone who has a lot of knowledge but a very shallow understanding, right?
Yeah,
Vast information recall, not able to like put things together on its own.
not the real world experience to be able to know what to do when.
Yeah. Maybe lacking in judgment or discernment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that way, your experience is very similar to my experience as a programmer working with these systems.
Yeah, I think vibe check is it's just different. I think some days I do miss being in Figma land more and just being able to have complete control, because there's also that element of control of you're just,
For sure.
prompt over to Claude. We use Claude and saying, go do this thing and hoping that it comes back, right? So some days that's a great experience, and some days it becomes very frustrating when you close the chat and start over because Claude's not understanding. It's gone a little too far down the rabbit hole. But it's just that's part of the learning process, I guess.
For sure. And right now, I mean, one thing that I always kind of come back to thinking about these AI tools and all of their rough edges and deficiencies, and well, like it's useful, right? It's handy. Like I would miss Claude Code a lot if I didn't have it, but just like, and maybe this is a bit of a digression, but just looking at, what financial details we know about, Anthropic and OpenAI and their business model, it's like at some point they're going to have to jack up the prices like a lot. And then I wonder, will it still be worth it? So like, are these new tools you're experimenting and finding they're handy for some things. Like if you were like footing the bill and the bill was high, like, are you seeing a bunch of value coming out of this in your own work? Is it, I've heard a lot of it's different and it's interesting and it's handy for these kinds of things. So far, I haven't heard you say anything like, oh yeah, like I can do so much more or do the same things faster. Like, are you seeing value? Like if you were paying for this out of your own pocketbook, would that be a check you'd happily sign off on?
I think it depends on how you use it, and like you guys talk about this a lot from the development side about how do you use AI and what is the most valuable way. We're going to have to definitely be more strategic as costs go up, and for me, we can make such beautiful and cohesive prototypes that that would have taken us like weeks to do manually.
That is really nice. They're quite good at prototyping.
That's really good. Could we go back to it? Yes. Would we cry? Yes. Yes, we would.
Well, that's as ringing an endorsement as any. If I lost this, I would cry. That's a fair answer.
Like, please don't send me back. Then there's also things that I think are human like equivalents where we don't, like Annie was talking about pair programming. I remember we would sit with our engineers and ask them 1 million questions about like the data that's coming back. What can we do now? And so when it's things that are factual, that aren't interpretive, like something about the technical architecture or available data points that we have, those are things that help us not bug engineers and let them do higher value work. So they help us with the bigger stuff. They help explain what's valuable from a development perspective, but we don't need to bother them with the minutia. That really helps us make realistic, executable designs.
And saves us time from that contextual perspective of like, I don't have to stop what I'm doing to go give an engineer all the context of what I'm trying to do and then ask them the question. It's like, I can just ask it right in the chat as we're doing things of like, hold on, can you explain this concept? Like, what does this mean?
Yeah, totally. I've heard a similar sentiment expressed for some of our people working in customer success of just being like, yeah, this is great for answering like non-engineers who deal with like customer relationships and stuff, and they get a customer question and might have to just find that Claude can help them answer it. This attribute of a recipe or one of our code repositories without having to bug an engineer about it. Although I mean, I have often, maybe this is just me, I've often felt that people are much more reluctant to ask questions than to answer them. Like someone asks you a question, like someone asks me a question, I provide the answer for them. I feel good about that. Like, oh boy, I helped. I don't feel bothered that they asked me. So I don't know. Maybe I do wonder about, particularly in a remote workplace, relationships not being established or maintained as we don't go to each other for help and assistance on these issues, but I don't really have much of a follow on to that thought.
Well, I think it's like how you go to them. I think that it will. I feel really like we talk with our UI team a lot. I don't think it's taken away from that.
Okay, that's good.
I think you have to collaborate. Some of the things like I made a deploy artifacts modal enhancement that was really complicated. That there's no way I could have understood fully without talking to the front end team about, like, okay, what are you guys doing? You're deploying to different ecosystems, and these ecosystems have their own language. And I asked them tons of questions, but what I didn't have to do was ask them, like, exactly what does it get back? You know what I mean? So it's like the conversation shifts to be, I think, more fun.
Level?
Yeah,
I think great.
I think more fun and like higher level. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
One upside of not interacting with your coworkers directly is they don't get cat hair in your eyeball.
I mean, I get that. So.
Anyway, yeah, so that's great. Yeah, and I think that is kind of a natural upside of this very knowledgeable fool at your disposal when you have a question of fact or particularly a broad thing that someone who's in an ecosystem would just kind of like background knowledge that everyone who's up to speed in an ecosystem has is just very freely available in an LLM, right? Like talking about a deployment dialogue of like, I don't know everything about how artifacts are bundled and published in every software ecosystem, but any basic LLM can tell you that, and for each of them. So it's like I know everything about how like a Java artifact is packaged, but I might not about Python. And so when designing like a modal dialogue or thinking from my perspective, like designing the backend that supports that, so it'd be very handy to be like, this concept is analogous across these 5 ecosystems of like bundling and publishing and deploying an artifact and retrieving it from some kind of repository. But each one has their own little idiosyncrasies. Like make me a table of like what the differences, the similarities and differences are for this concept across these ecosystems. And you might like struggle to find like a blog post or something somewhere that had all of that information collated in the specific way that you need. But yeah, being able to ask an agent to produce that summary for you could definitely lower the barrier to entry on these things.
Yeah, which isn't to say there isn't a workaround, right? I think we've all. Oh, there's Brian. Yeah, Brian and I have been collaborating a lot. Some stuff. He's been very helpful. But it's not to say we can't go back to the days where we were Googling things, right, and finding the answer.
Sure.
But definitely, when you're asking an LLM a technical question, it's much better answer. Like Jade said, anything factual, data-driven, it's going to have a pretty concrete answer that's correct. So that's super helpful.
Yeah. I found that to be useful. Although I gotta say, I do one thing, and maybe tell me if you guys feel this way too. One thing I miss about the pre-LLM days was how lazy people were with their communications, right? If you ask someone something or they're filling in a commit message or like writing an email and they had to do it themselves, they would write 1 sentence, 2 sentences, but it'd be the most important thing, right? And now you get 2 paragraphs with 4 bulleted lists, and it's just like so much more text to comb through, and you can't always be fully confident that the people who are sending this to you have like fully vetted the LLM's output either. So I find myself feeling a bit fatigued with the reading, as I feel like I have to, like there's just so much more text to interpret, and I feel like I can't trust it all as much. So I have to like read skeptically and carefully. And yeah, you see those M dashes and and you're like, like skepticism activated. So I find myself with a bit of like reading fatigue or like comprehension fatigue, just fatigue of trying to go through these messages. But that might also speak to being, working in a domain where sometimes the little details like really do matter, and these like text that's plausible sounding but inaccurate can be some of the most trying to interpret and digest. So I don't know if you've had that experience.
Yeah, Jade's listened to my rant a couple times about how I hate reading, which sounds terrible. I love to read. I'm not necessarily like, I'm a designer by trade. I like the visual, right? So anytime you give me a wall of text, it's going to take me some motivation to read through it. So I frequently find myself asking an LLM to just give me the bullet points, right? Like just give me what, take out all the nonsense, take out the M dashes, just give me the bullet you're saying here, right? And yeah, there is an element of trust, right? Sometimes you're like, hold on, let me go like check this.
Yeah, maybe that is just what it is. People use LLMs to write several paragraphs and bulleted lists, and you need another LLM to be like, shrink this down to the 2 sentences that it that it could have been.
That's my biggest pet peeve with the PRs it makes, is it writes
they're so verbose.
And it's so verbose, and I'm not good about it, but I should be going in and just being like, this is what it is, just the bullets, right?
Yeah, I've had the experience of working on a coding task with an LLM that crossed several repositories, and it went well, right? Like I productively got done the thing I wanted done. And when I got to that bit at the end where I'm like, okay, I want like succinct commit messages for each of these, I was like, summarize in like 1 or 2 sentences why we made the changes to each of these repositories. And for several of them, the why it gave was wrong. I was like, that isn't why we did this. We got the result I wanted, but even asking you to summarize why we did it this way, it answered it inaccurately. I don't know if a follow on to that, but that was just something that I think about.
But that's like that because I was going to say this before and it's coming up again. So when you're the expert, we're design experts, right? So when we read design recommendations from an LLM, we're like, that's not right. That's not right. But now we're out here making PRs and building things, and this is why we still need engineers, because we could be building anything and we're not going to recognize the red flags that you guys see. So this is kind of we wanted to hit on this because it's like there's still a design handoff. We're we're making prototypes and we're working against the code base and all of that, but we obviously need the help of engineers still to check our work and check whatever things sounded right to us, because they always the technical choices always sounds good to me.
It sounds so reasonable. Yeah, totally. I was almost reading. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then sometime later, I'm like, well, no, wait, that one thing didn't make sense. That one thing was wrong. But yeah, you don't notice that in any domain that you're not an expert in. Yeah, I do kind of wonder about people becoming, if this will. I think this will both help and hinder becoming experts. Like you've described how this lowered your barrier to entry for making these prototypes that would have been very laborious and involved a lot of learning to make. And I could see different personalities or different levels of curiosity going different ways. Like if someone who was like really curious to learn how that worked could take the initiative to go look at the prototypes it produced and be like, oh, I kind of see how this fits together. I have learned something that I could, apply myself beyond this, or not. Just be like, hey, I got the prototype I wanted. I'm not looking under the covers and that. And it could be either crutch or learning aid, depending upon the level of initiative or curiosity displayed. So I guess what I'm saying is, has your experiences of getting these your designs prototyped rapidly and easily made you want to switch and become a front-end developer?
No.
That's good. That's good.
I used to code when I was a kid, right? I was there, making little websites, but I think it still makes the level, like the how engineering is now, all the stuff that goes in it being a professional engineer makes my head spin, and
it can be a little head spinning for sure.
I'll stay over here in design land. I'm very happy over here, but I will use code to make prototypes that don't hurt anyone's, don't affect the production uptime.
Yeah. Really, really good for prototyping. And then, being able to hand off a working or semi-working prototype has to be, now this just has to be like a very actionable artifact for someone to take and to start adapting.
It's not even that it's like a working software prototype. It's that like there were a
working UI prototype.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of limitations though to like even just a UI prototype in traditional like design tools. The common phrases like spaghetti, right? You'll have like the prototype spaghetti where you have all these connectors going all over to all these different components, and it's a very fragile little thing, right? If you change any one thing, it'll mess up. And like recently, I've been working on stuff that requires text input, and that's something that Sigma didn't really support. So this way, I'm able to make a much higher fidelity prototype, for better or worse, for users, so they don't get hung up on the limitations of the prototype, right? That's not what we're getting hung up on. So in that sense, the AI assisted prototyping is great.
And also we can prevent like change. Annie you talked about this a lot too, like stress testing or even just seeing all the states that exist. So sometimes like when we designed stuff in the past and handed it off, we maybe weren't aware of every state or how much data could be in this one text block or something like that. And so the old workflow is it will break and then you fix it. And we're still going to have that. Like we're not going to cover everything, but you can stress test it against things and also reveal all the states that exist in a design live. So you can kind of see it without waiting for it to break on a customer probably.
Yeah.
It's also really good at accessibility testing, which has been huge.
Really?
Yeah. Like because it's a set of rules, right? So you can just point it at accessibility standards and it will audit for accessibility. So that's really helpful.
That's very handy. Once, when I just started in the industry, I was working at Microsoft, and they had a bug bash event where like whoever just like go test Windows and associated software, and if you file the most bugs, like you get a keyboard or something, some minor little prize. And I was like, well, I just feel like this would be a good thing for visibility within my org for me to win this. And naturally, the place I went to was accessibility. I'm like, I know if I just point a screen reader at any given UI that the experience is going to be awful, and I'll be able to, or if not awful, then there will definitely be bugs of like, oh, you didn't read the title of that button. There's an issue. So yeah, I won that bug bash just by focusing on accessibility issues. Yeah, I got a keyboard I never used. But yeah, just what you were talking about reminded me of that. Yeah. I find that LLMs are very strong for verifiable tasks, right? If there's some objective measure of success or a bar to compare against, they're pretty good. When you give it something maybe a little bit more nebulous, a little bit more open-ended, it can struggle more. But if you can be like, make the code pass this test, compare the code to this specification, does pretty well with that. So what you're saying there, aligns with my experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it is artificial intelligence, so it's only copying what it can find or what it's been given. So when it comes to like design thinking, that's not really something that LLMs do well, because you're talking about creativity, which, in my opinion, AI cannot compare to a human's creativity. It can imitate it to a certain degree.
Sure, I mean it's just regurgitating what it's seen in its training data from whatever creative works it was trained upon. So humans, we remix stuff too, but we can bring a little bit of originality into it as well, you would hope.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. Do you guys have any other, demos or mock-ups or maybe anything that you like have like a UI prototype that you made this way recently that you could show or anything like that?
I think we do have some stuff that we could look at. I don't know if Jade wants to go first or I can go.
Well, Jade's already sharing her screen, so if you want to.
screen, so by default.
And we want to see a prototype rather than like something that was built with it.
I think it would be really interesting to see both, actually. If particularly if it's something that's already in the products, or I don't want to like reveal some new thing that we haven't shown anywhere before on stream on a whim. But particularly if you have like something that's in the product that is released, and then the mock-up you made with by hand or with the LLM that led into that, I think that would be an interesting comparison.
All right.
Yeah, because I don't know. I have something I made. I made this slide in case we needed it, but this is an example of like an MCP Explorer. This is live.
So hold on. I still just see the design window.
Okay, maybe I have to share the whole thing again. So see, I wasn't already sharing. Annie should have gone first. I made. Who's on? Is Jada on side effects?
Jada's manning the soundboard.
I made this. This is like MCP, and this is live in the app, and like that was something Jonathan made. Really like Jonathan made. Oops, this is just getting weird. Jonathan made it, and then he's like, take a pass at it, and so I updated it, and this is kind of what we ended up with. It's really over here, and this is what it really looks like in our app. But it was something where we started. So
let's start with the before, after, kind of in the middle here.
Yeah.
Can we zoom in on that? I find that a little hard to see.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna just share. I was trying to zoom. Let me make the window smaller.
You hit Control or Option and scroll, maybe. It's like zoom the browser. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is big. Not sure.
I have a better thing to do, but. I will stop. Let's see. This one should be my whole thing. So can I go through the tabs and show you the software?
Yes.
Yeah, this is like the real thing that was made. And it's pretty, like it's a SaaS. It's not the CLI one. It's the SaaS MCP Explorer. So but it was something that started off a little more pared down, but everything was there. I just used the LM and Claude to surface other data points that might be available and get feedback and figure out how to make it a little more have a little more feature-ish, and this is not working.
Yeah, it doesn't want to zoom in a way that's helping us see the thing in the middle. Do you still have the original prototype that? Are you able to open that in a web browser? I'd be curious to just we've been talking about how you're using Claude to prototype these artifacts, and so I'm curious to see one of these prototypes, particularly compared, juxtaposed, if we're being fancy, with the final thing that prototype was productized into.
Can you tell me if a pull request keeps the Versal preview?
Preview? Maybe, yeah, probably. I don't really know the lifetimes of the Vercel previews, but yeah, you can probably find that in there. I'll take a screen share. We'll see if you can find that. Go ahead.
I have a pretty easy one. So I work on org selector, which is everyone's favorite, right? So organizations are a huge part of whole UI. So let me share my screen. I can walk you kind of through. And this was one that don't show these tips again. It went through kind of the whole, you're going to make me open system settings now. It went back and forth. So it started in Figma, then it went into Claude, then it went back to Figma, then it went back to Claude. So it's kind of, we're getting we're going back and forth and back and forth. Let's see if this is working now. Let's share. Yeah, so you can see here, right? We started your usual beautiful Figma. And then this is the Vercel. So you can
so this you helped generate with an LLM, this preview?
Yeah, so this is made in Claude Code. So pulled in the Moderne UI repo, pulled in our design repo, and then looked this up. And this is still in there as Vercel. So you can see it has full functionality. I made this when we were trying to do search. So you can see search. We went with tree view. I was able to make a bunch of different possibilities, options for us to choose.
Yeah.
Helpful. And like, there was no way I could, it reduces a lot of the toil of content population, which is always, I think, one of designers' least favorite things to do.
Absolutely.
Data or like just type a lot. It's pain.
Yeah.
So for it to just pull all of this in, but also give us, all the states really easily and everything like that.
Yeah, and notice that the UI is like works. You can actually like expand these things, and it didn't look like that was like a pre-canned expansion of like you had pre-designed in Figma that this one drop down would work. It looks like it actually has some working UI components in there.
Yeah, I mean that's the other part of it is that, and this is. Yeah.
So what was that, Annie? I missed the last sentence.
This is app.moderne. So this is live production code. So you can see it's pretty much exactly like what we had.
Very similar.
In Vercel, very similar. There's, our devs do a great job of cleaning up some of our mess. But yeah, it reduces, again, a lot of the toil. So a lot of the having to make default or having to make this one example that we know doesn't quite work the same. But is kind of the idea, but ask show us what it is before you put it out there. All those that back and forth I've had with engineers before of, I can't quite get it to quite work how I want it to in my head, but this is the idea and here's some explanation of it. Now it's like, nope, this is it. This is exactly how I want it to look and feel and work and do its thing. And here's actually real content, right? So that's kind of
that's pretty handy. Yeah, I'm talking about being able to populate it with real content. Is it fine? Is it time to declare the death of lorem ipsum? Like, because like now you don't need that anymore, right? Like it'll you won't get any more people being like, what's this weird Latin in here? I want the page in English, not in Latin.
I mean, to a certain degree, I do think there's like a yes and there's a plus of Lindsay's. Our fearless leader does agree. That's Lindsay, the head of design. She's our boss. Yeah, I do think there's a time and a place for dummy data. That said, right? Like I think one of the double-edged swords to having this access to produce these super high fidelity prototypes is you're starting to lose that low fidelity ideation exploration that is a hallmark of design. Seeing how ideas work and not having people get too hung up on the colors or the icons or the all that kind of thing and just focusing on the flow. I do think that gets a little lost in the sauce, especially when you're putting out things that are so close to working software. Maybe they don't have the back end. You're not like doing API calls, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm not going to throw out lorem ipsum entirely yet. I think there is still a case for like, don't focus on the names here. Just look at look at what we're looking at.
Deliberate low fidelity as a way to direct focus of like, we don't want to you might have real intent with designing one part of a user experience or one part of a page and not have applied that same level of intent or finishedness to the other stuff. But if the LLM goes and fills in that detail for you, you might overfit to something that you didn't want. And I've heard of this and this kind of thing happening not specifically with LLMs, but in various human endeavors, like directors on movies will have placeholder music for their scenes before they've finished getting the rights or finalizing the sound design. And sometimes I've heard that they will get used to the placeholder music and want that instead of the real thing, or that will pigeonhole them into into a decision that maybe wasn't what they actually wanted throughout familiarity. So I could see that happening with these I can see it happening in code and I can see it happening in UIs, that when you get everything filled in to the full degree of detail, the things that should have been left ambiguous until more attention and intent could be directed to them are over-specified early. And it's interesting.
we have a different philosophy here a little bit about high fidelity, but in my past lives, there's been a treatment of if you, don't show users something super high fidelity that hasn't been validated or hasn't been, we don't know if it's going to go on, because there's kind of this like, actually don't show anyone something high fidelity if we're not sure if it's like a, solid idea. Because there is this thing like once it's high fidelity, it's like real, right? It's a real thing. And it assumes that there's been a lot of like intention put behind it. Really it hasn't, but it's hard because it's so seductive to be like, I'm just going to ideate in code, man. Like, this is so nice.
For sure. Yeah. Being deliberate about communicating what is precise and what isn't is you can give people the wrong idea. 10,537 sounds like a promise of precision and accuracy more than thousands does, right?
Lorem ipsum.
Lorem ipsum.
And it's also like people, I think it's the mental model of what a PR is, right? So that's part of, we're doing these things in PRs a lot of the time, and PRs are executable, right? So that's the developer mental model. This is a thing I have to execute, not like this is an idea or an experiment. So I think that it can be, even if you say, and also UI in itself, good UI is seductive. So when you're showing something beautiful that looks, you can say a million times, this is just an idea, this is just an exploration. I've upfront given long speeches about how, but it doesn't matter because it looks so real that people just respond.
People are anchored to that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a visceral reaction because it looks real. So, yeah.
So is what we need here a blurring step of like, okay, you did this prototype. Now we need to like mask and blur things that are, or make indistinct things that are not intended to be fully specified at this time, so we can direct focus.
Yeah.
Just thought. Yeah. It looks like you're ready to show something, Jade.
Yeah, this is the MCP Explorer that was actually. This is the design. This isn't the. This is the actual thing I delivered. So
this is the Vercel mock-up, not the production thing.
Yeah, this is the Vercel mock-up that I made, and if I'm just gonna like spring. I did things like I added little things like I pre-selected the org ID, like I added little UX touches to it that made it easier to use it. So I did things like that. And then this is actually a good example of where front-end engineering helps with getting the, like at a high level, bring the conversation up. I had an original idea for this one where I had the schema as almost like in a modal. So you see the code and you just copy it and then you could paste it. But Scott kind of shared, our head of our UI team shared an idea of like, oh, a lot of these tools do this like table raw thing and you toggle between. So they said I wouldn't really want to see the code in that way. So it kind of became more about like a competitive analysis, what they like using versus do you get this back and can I do this, So, but it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good, pretty close to, I lost my bottom bar because this dictate, there's like a bar that I usually can see, but I lost it because of the presentation tool, but it is there.
Right.
But it looks pretty close to what we have today. This is what I'm missing. I also made this like cool thing where if you want your response at the left or bottom, but that was also like through feedback from the developers, who some of them, they were divided. Some of them like the bottom and some of them like the left. And I'm like, let's just do both. It would be cool. Yeah, and we have a flexible tool.
Yeah, good luck getting a group of developers or really just people to agree on anything like that. Okay, so this has all been very interesting. We're getting near the end of our time together. So I just thought I would ask, what is your, most of our audience for this is software engineers, people who work in, on the technical side of things. Do you have any advice for our audience on how to interact most productively with design, whether through the lens of these new advancements in tooling or just in general?
Boy.
Annie, you're making me go first on this one. Annie usually speaks. I'll just say, we don't know what the new workflow is going to be. Like you said, like, do we need this step in between that's blurry? Probably, but like to help us all move forward together. I think we're very lucky that we have a UI team that embraces. They're very flexible. They let us try things in prod. They've offered, if you don't like doing that, if you don't want to become a front end engineer, you can still give us a Figma screen. So like the flexibility and the open-mindedness to like try things with us, experiment, let us try things, and help. It's like a shared space. It's a new shared space. So sharing it with us and being understanding and supportive has been really great for us. I hope other people can get the same thing. I feel really lucky to be here.
Very good. How about you, Annie? Any thoughts?
I would say that the public discourse around AI design and AX, which is AI, right, experience design, whatever, we always have an acronym for something, is like very different from real world, right? So I think this whole idea of like designer engineer, you can go from idea to production. That kind of falls down when you get into an enterprise system where you have engineers whose whole job is to keep the app running and make sure, there's all these checks and balances and all these things that you wouldn't know unless you were an engineer for years and years. So I think I'm not coming for anyone's job. I don't think a lot of designers have any interest in being engineers. But I do think adoption of AI in design has I think people have varying interest in AI on the design side. And there isn't anything in AI that there's nothing that AI does that we can't do traditionally in some form, right? Even if it requires a little more collaboration or a little more abstraction or something. I think, like there's no workflow that's been figured out. I think we're all still kicking the tires on a lot of these tools to see like what their capabilities are. And it's just all about like just trying stuff out. It's really the Wild West out there. We all have to just like give each other some grace as we like try these things and see what works and what doesn't. And that's where I'm at with it.
I just want to clarify, I was being hyperbolic when I said front-end engineer. I mean fake front-end engineer. You're not. Completely agree with Annie.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, excellent thoughts. Thank you for coming on and sharing them. It's been a real pleasure to have you. And thanks everyone. And I'll see you again next week. Actually, I will be traveling this time next week. So Tim will see you next week. Unless he's gone too. So look forward to it. Anyway, thanks so much, Jade and Annie, for joining us. And thanks all of you for watching.